It's your favorite podcast. It's Vanguard from Yaad. The Reckoning with Reasoning. With your host, Legendary G.
Welcome again to another episode of Vanguard from Yaad, The Reckoning with Reasoning. Strike. What happened last week? So, I'll be taking a closer look at the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke's appeal to the public sector workers and talks of a compensation reform. So, the country been recovering from a bruising week of industrial action in the public sector that cost the country millions of dollars and widen a trust deficit between government and its employees, according to Dr. Nigel Clarke. So, last week he made an emotional appeal for patience to the disgruntled public sector workers, saying that the marathon compensation review is now home stretch and the finish line is in sight. A slew of industrial action began last week Tuesday morning when NWC workers cut supplies island-wide for 2 days, followed on Thursday by air traffic controllers who stopped working over a faulty radar system. The action closed the island's airspace, affecting at least 10,000 travelers and costing the country millions of dollars in lost revenue. But as the air traffic controllers returned to work Thursday night, the Jamaica Civil Service Association, JCSA, indicated its intention to call a strike if the government failed to address the organization's concerns about claims it wanted to settle in advance of the compensation review. However, after talks with the government, the JCSA retracted their efforts. Then on Friday, workers at the National Housing Trust in New Kingston and other locations walk off the job in protest over an outstanding job evaluation and reports of an expected redundancy exercise. The workers have also taken industrial action over what they say is the management's reluctance to increase benefits. So let's take a closer look at Dr. Nigel Clarke's appeal and what he's saying. So I got this article from the Jamaican Observer, and it's Dr. Nigel Clarke's appeal to the public sector workers. And I'll be giving you my opinion and, conscious insight. So, the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke, with the support of public sector unions and the determination of many, the country is now within striking distance, and I'm quoting Dr. Nigel Clarke here, of the most profound and comprehensive structural changes to the public sector compensation by any administration. Let me read that again. With the support of public sector unions and the determination of many, the country is now within striking distance of the most profound, comprehensive structural changes to the public sector compensation by any administration. Well, time will tell. So basically the compensation reform coming for the public sector workers, and it will be right across the board, with, projection and percentages, of course. I won't get into much of the technicalities. So let me continue with Dr. Nigel Clarke's statement. These changes are designed to simplify public sector compensation overall, improve transparency, increase equity and fairness, and improve compensation levels while retaining sustainability of Jamaica's finances. He pointed out to what he described as Jamaica's tortuous economic and fiscal experience over the last several decades, and acknowledged that the wage freeze agreed by public sector workers over the 12 years across administrations has not been easy. So at least he acknowledged that, In fact, and these are his words, it has been excruciatingly difficult, and there have been unspoken costs for one, faith and trust in government as a permanent institution across time to deliver for public sector employees has suffered over this period. Yes, for sure. People don't trust government no more, So basically, he does have an outlook of how public sector workers will be compensated going forward, while working on a compensation reform all across the public sector workforce. The thing about Dr. Nigel Clarke, it seems he's coming from a compassionate space, and it seems like he really want a change for the public sector workers. So, this is our best bet so far, and he has experience in finance before he became the minister. So this man is well rounded, You know, so we just have to trust him judgment. I like his character as a person, and only time will tell, you know, if he will, you know, come through with what he's saying. So big up to Dr. Nigel Clarke. So we keep forgetting that the public sector workers are human, and we all have feelings, we all have, you know, responsibilities, we all have, you know, things to do, and sometimes we all feeling the pressures of society, and sometimes it may seem like we take certain things for granted, like especially the public sector workers are essential workers. We feel like they are not supposed to strike and they're not supposed to do certain things because we are affected. They are people too, and they need their money, and for years they've been going back and forth with government, lobbying for better pay, for better working conditions, and not getting it. So I guess the frustration pile up, and last week it just be a strike, and it don't feel good, it don't feel right that our people in 2022 have a strike to get better working conditions, you know, with a booming economy like Jamaica. You know, we have to fix that. So Dr. Nigel Clarke went on to say, despite the successes of heads of agreements signed between the government and union leaders, the trust deficit between government and people, you know, widened. You know, when we have a strike, them things make we have, you know, tension between our leaders and our people. You know, so we try to avoid strikes by the government meeting with these people and try to at least, you know, understand them pain and rectify and mitigate the situation. You know, we can't have our people striking, it's embarrassing. However, the wage restraint, he said, was necessary for Jamaica's economic survival. Jamaica made a conscious and explicit social policy choice to retain the employment base of the public sector and instead pursue fiscal wage adjustment through sustained wage restraint instead of through workforce reduction. So basically what he's saying is that instead of firing anybody or, you know, laying off people in a redundancy exercise, the public sector workers agreed to go on a wage freeze, basically, you know, for 12 years. Imagine that. That's not easy. So I do understand what the people are going through, and I hope that our leaders, you know, whatever mandate, whatever moving forward, people and care of people have to, you know, be involved. We want better for ourselves, we want better for everybody in Jamaica, straight up. So he said that while some bargaining groups were ahead of the government in their agitation for change, what was needed instead was a comprehensive reform across all government compensation. The administration was able to generate support from unions, bargaining groups over the last 5 years to await the government-wide compensation reform. However, the consultations with all groups, he said, will take time and must be sequenced. For better or worse, we have to make a decision to conclude consultations with 47 central government union and bargaining groups first, to be followed by 140 public bodies. What a whole heap of meeting. Condition and progress with central government that facilitates timely implementation. We project to engage public bodies by November, more or less consistent with the timeline provided to the National Water Commission, he explained. So, he is appealing to the public that he need the same patience which allow the hard-working teams to complete 4 years of work setting up the policy framework for this reform, engaging in the public sector about its key elements, procuring and engaging the services of multinational consultants, collecting and analyzing data on 110,000 jobs, designing and completing surveys, modeling, forecasting and communicating, he said. After enduring the road phase of this reform marathon, we have now entered the stadium and are actually on the home stretch in full visibility of the finishing line. It is supreme patience that got us here, according to Dr. Nigel Clarke. As close as we are, we cannot now afford to collapse on track. Instead, fueled by the same patience, for just a few more months, and we can make it across the finishing line. Wow. So basically, Dr. Nigel Clarke is working on some compensation reform, and they've been working on it for the last 5 years. As he mentioned in his appeal, meeting with the union groups and public groups, and I guess all information will be sent out to all the relevant authorities so everybody can see what will take place and what will happen, you know, for the public sector workers. But come on, you know, it's 2022 and I feel like, you know, it kind of feel embarrassing to people if you write from posters, boy, we hungry. Wow, you know, we hungry. That hit home, you know. And, you know, I feel like people should hold their behaving like that. You know, it's kind of embarrassing, you know. And I read a lot of people say essential workers shouldn't be able to strike, but they can't say that, you know. That is the kind of mindset why we are striking today, you know. We feel like some of us are preferred and some of us don't deserve access to certain levity. And, you know, that can't be, trust me. And he's right about, you know, the trust deficit between the government and people. We mean, you know, it feel like government are doing one thing and feel like we are doing one thing and one country, and then now, you know, when it come on to major decisions, it feel like there's a conflict of interest. You know? Yeah, so we just want better for our people. Jamaica will be celebrating 60th anniversary and we need to move in a different direction and not have another 60 years of poverty. You know what I mean? So let's give the people them what they deserve, at least give some other incentives other than money, you know, to offset certain responsibility and liabilities. You know what I mean? Let's build a culture of pro-Jamaicans doing best for our people. You know, hard to do. Intentions can have revolutionary changes. And if you put your intention and believe, say, we are going to help people, we can. You know what I mean? The common denominator is people. And without people, we can't have no planet nor profit. So let's all do what we're supposed to do and help the people. It's full time now. We raise the condition of our people. You know? We can find 8 billion to send one telescope into orbit to carry out with duties. Yes, we can fix certain things on Earth too. You know? Where we intention there. You know what I mean? So, thanks to Dr. Nigel Clarke, and I hope the people, you know, feel better about his appeal. And we kind of believe in him character still, so make we see, all the time will tell. Yeah, so that are my little 2 cents. Never really come to stay long at it. I just feel like, you know, people are supposed to have strike in 2022 over money and certain things. If it change now, that template where we, you know, growing from, we have to change and move forward. Yeah, so thank you. So tell me what you think about Dr. Nigel Clarke's appeal and what are some of the things then the government can incorporate so we can have better changes. Yep. So that's it for today's episode of Vanguard from Yaad. I hope you are doing well. Thanks for the support. Big up on yourself. See you next week.